Good morning. This is Ron Brown. It's Saturday morning, February 25th, 2023. I'm going to take a look at the market with HGSI and maybe Thinkorswim also, and then show you something I've been working on with or helping us determine rotation both at end of the day and intraday. So let's get started. Once again, any stock index or ETF mentioned in this presentation is not a recommendation to buy or sell. All trading strategies are used at your own risk. Okay, I've got HGSI open, and I'm going to just go into my designer, go to the user groups, to the market analysis, user groups. Remove any filter that's there by holding the shift key and clicking on the filter. I'll transfer this, and then I want to go into my top-down process for market analysis. And this shows that it was not a good day. In fact, it's been a bad week. So let's take a look here at what I look at every morning. I'm going to look at the NASDAQ composite, and I'm going to click up here on my quick pick, bring this up, go to market charts, NASDAQ internals, use with the NASDAQ, and you can see that this is a daily chart, and I'm going to use my alternate 1 key, and that'll get me a closer look here. You can see what's happened recently. If I hit alternate W, it shows us what happened this week. It gapped down here, traded down here, and now it's generating a no supply sign of strength. Back to the daily. So the daily chart has formed a series of higher or lower highs. Here's a lower high, here's a lower high, here's a lower low, here's a lower low when it broke down through here. This would be a lower high here, and here's a lower low. So the daily chart, in my opinion, is definitely trending down, and it's not a good time to be looking for a lot of longs. Of course, let me state that these indexes are really not the entire market, and I'm going to show you that as I get into the next part of the procedure. So anyway, it's down in the daily chart. Let's look at the weekly chart. Here's the high, here's a lower high, lower low. So the weekly chart is now trending down too if you use the lower high and lower low criteria like I've been using. Let's do a monthly. Monthly is not down yet because we haven't formed a lower low yet. So on the daily and weekly, I would say that the market, or the NASDAQ in particular, is down. Let's go back to the daily. Let's look at another chart here. This is a comparison. This is chart number 1A. It's a comparison of the NASDAQ to the S&P 500. When this is going down, the NASDAQ composite is underperforming the S&P 500. And let's go back here and look at this. This line was up, up, up as the tech stocks and the NASDAQ composite itself were outperforming the S&P. Then here's a lower high here, a lower high here, lower low here. It hasn't come, well, here's a lower low than this lower low. But the point of this chart is that the S&P is not as bad as the NASDAQ. Now here's the AD line on this, but I want the full AD line, so let's go down to the next chart. Well, it's not the next chart. This is the new highs versus the new lows. This is chart 02. New lows are moving up, new highs are moving down, and that's what we'd expect in a market like this. As far as the fan goes, here's the 200, the 100. The 200s are red. Then the 100, the 50, and the 18. And you can see that on the daily chart that this little spinning top is right at the 200 and the 50 kind of a critical area. So the fan is obviously not going up. Now, this is the chart I wanted to show you and this is chart number 3. This represents the advancing issues versus the declining issues, and you can see clearly to the downside. Now let's switch over to the NYSE quickly and just let's see, it's right here, and let's go down to the NYSE charts. I want to go down to RS, and you can see that the NYSE, the blue line here, compared to the S&P 500, this is holding steady or going up. So it's obvious that the Nasdaq is the weaker major index. Okay, let's look at the advanced decline line. This is what I want on the NYSE. It too is going down. So it's obviously a dangerous market right now for longs, especially with the leadership index, the Nasdaq, which has been the leading index. It's breaking down. So any of the recent leaders could be in trouble. The only one that's holding up, well, I shouldn't say the only one, but one of the few stocks that's holding up right now is, of course, the stock NVIDIA, which reported and shot up, but that's maybe at the exhaustion point right now. We'll just have to wait and see if it can hold up against this tide of selling. I don't want to dwell on the market anymore. We know it's not in good shape right now, and it's fighting a lot of headwinds, a lot of national and international news, plus the inflation news is what's really got it going down. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to move on to something that I've been working with, trying to make it easier for us to find out what's going on both at the end of day and intraday. And if you open up your quick pick views, you're going to find these views down under stocks and groups moving up and down. There's 3 of them now, and I will point out the difference as I go along. I need to change charts. Use my quick pick. Get out of the market charts, and I'm going down to I like using the black charts. And I'm going to zoom out a little bit. I'm going to get another chart over here, and I'm going to use a weekly chart here. And we'll hide those for now. So at this point, I'm in all securities, and I want to go down to folder number 11, stocks and groups moving up, SmartGroups. This accesses the original SmartGroups in the Woodward and Brown files. So you can go directly to those files in the designer, but I'm trying to make it easier for us so you don't have to do this and go down here to locate these stocks. Take the filter off. You can see these are all populated. They're updated every day. And let me see if I can give us some more information here. The group properties. Securities at the top of the list are driven there by both fundamental and technical demands based upon the force index, dollar volume, and group movement. This is a combo-driven list. The combo is the stocks and groups moving to the upside combo ranking, which is based upon demand. Now, these are the tools that we had 15 years ago or so. That's when I created these, maybe 20 years ago at this point. But this has worked really well over the years. But now we have other tools in HGSI, and I'm going to point out the difference. So let's go back here, and I'm on the first group. There's nothing in the intraday right now, but I will go ahead and even though it's a weekend, I can update the intraday quotes. Now, to get these intraday quotes to work anytime, but on the weekend too, you have to have Thinkorswim open first and then open HGSI, and then you can update the intraday quotes. And you can see these are the quotes from yesterday. So what this group is a direct link to stocks and groups moving to the upside. You can see the green folder right here, so it accesses this group automatically, even though this was on all securities. And let me go back to all securities. You can see there's 11,681 in there, but when I click on or activate the filter, it cuts it down to 100 stocks. It's still on all securities, but now it's accessing that user group. I had gone into the user group, but see, it's in all securities, but if I bring up the filter, it's accessing that smart group that I pointed out in the designer. So rather than going to the designer, at the end of the day, when you're updating, all you have to do is come in here and click on these. These are stocks and groups moving up, and these are stocks and groups moving up 1 to 15. Now I want to show you what's in this group. You can see that this group at the end of the day is dominated by marine shipping. There's 15 stocks. If I move down to the 1 to 15 group, you can see that there are 17 stocks in there. Now, this is a one-day snapshot, of course, but I want to show you something. I'm going to go into, and by the way, this view or these views are sorted by the industry percentage price change. So if you look down here, everything is right here for us. You can see which groups were the strongest and how much they were up. And you can see the sort right here. So let's just go into marine shipping. I'm going to change to this industry group, and I'm going to take these 17 stocks. Actually, I'm going to take every stock in the marine shipping group. So I'll just, you can see that there's a bunch here. Well, actually, I do not want all these stocks because some of these do not trade much at all. If you look over here, here's one that trades 22.50. These, I don't know if these are warrants or what they are, but I don't want these stocks that are not trading anything. So let's go to a different view here. I'll just bear with me. You don't need to do this. I'm just showing you that I can go to a different view and eliminate those stocks that didn't trade anything. Now I have a list of 42 securities. I'm going to save list as, and it's going to go into my download folder, and it's marine shipping. So I'll click on this, and it's going to save it to my download folder. And then I'm going to open filters here and go scroll up to the top, and I'm just going to type in symbol and a symbol list, and I'm going to edit this list, and I'm going to clear the filter, and then I'm going to load that list of 42 stocks. See, it goes directly to my download folder, and 41 securities, 42 was the index. So now I have all of these marine shipping stocks in here. And the point of this exercise is to show you how long these stocks have been showing up from the first of the year. So I'm going to run this group inclusion report, and I'm going to clear this. I'm going to use the applied filter, and I have to go down to my User groups. And this is why I keep these user groups. I want stocks and groups going up. And I'm going to just do January and February of this year because that's really when they've been moving. And I'm going to check the children, which means all these stocks under those groups are checked. I don't need to make a group from the report, but I'm going to run this just to show you that these have been appearing a long time. Look at this. GLOP appeared 23 times beginning on January 19th, then the 27th, and then the 30th, 31st, and then the 1st, 6th, 7th, several times during early January and into February, or mid to late January. 17th on this one in January, and then all of these dates in February. This is DHT, Frontline, early January, mid-January, and then several times in February. So I'll have to turn that arrow off. I'm just going to scroll down here, and you can see that these stocks, many of them, appeared early, and then those are the leaders, and then these other stocks, these other shipping stocks, started appearing also. So that's the way you can do that. Just apply a filter and run it against the non-indexed groups that I save every day, and you can see how often these appeared, and they're still appearing. Okay, so I want to get back where I was. I'm going to hit my alternate spacebar, and I'm going to Alt Securities again. And let's look at this quick pick list. This is where I was. Notice the sort. Oil and gas services, exploration and production. Here's marine shipping up another 1.06%. And let's just put this up here. And I'm going to move down to the intraday, and it should be the same because these are end-of-day prices. Now, moving to the 1 to 15 group, marine shipping, oil and gas services. You can see oil and gas services, same price on the industry percentage price change, exploration and production. Marine shares are printing services, marine shipping, and so on. So you can see what the dominant groups are. This is why you should come in here and use these groups every night for prospecting. Gil Morales, this is one of his favorite features in HGSI, using the stocks and groups moving up. But rather than going into the designer, it makes a lot more sense just to come in here. You can be in all securities, and it's accessing those groups anyway. Now I'm going to take this up. Let's get this out of the way. Let's just look at a few of these stocks. I want to point some other things out too. These columns here, days since the 3 crossed the 6 to the upside and downside, days since the volume point of control turned positive, and the days down since it turned positive. So this EME, which is a building subcontractor, just crossed not yesterday, but the day before. So I'm going to bring this up. You can see this is a strong weekly chart. I want to zoom out on this, and I'm going to go to just this right here. You can see that the group's moving up. Here's your crossover. This must be earnings. Let's just look through a few of these. So here's one. 7 days, 8 days ago, 0 is a crossover day. Now I'm getting into oil and gas services and equipment. Had you been looking at this 8 days ago, you would have seen, first of all, you can see the weekly chart is strong, consolidation, and then a move up. And here is the crossover right here. The 3 crossing the 6. I like to use these, especially when they're above the 18. You can see it down here, and there were pocket pivots. The volume point of control happened right here. Okay. What am I looking at here? I'm looking at going back here. This crossover occurred 3 days ago, both on the 3 crossing the 6 and the volume point of control. Volume point of control is down here. Here the 3 crossed the 6. We've had 2 efforts to rise since then. The group has turned up. Once again, here's your crossover. And what was the BPA flag? Strength seen returning after a downtrend and transfer of ownership because it didn't close right at its high. You can see the upper wick up here. Here's one that just recently crossed over. Crossed over on Thursday. Here it is on Friday. Looks like it's setting up. The weekly chart looks strong here. It's a series of higher highs. And let's do this one right here, which just crossed over yesterday. Here's your crossover. There's a pocket pivot. There is a volume point of control turning positive also. The weekly chart is trending up. So even though the overall market does not look good, I made the statement that the indexes are really not the market, and they're not the market. And you can see that right here because these stocks are moving up. And the groups are moving up, and it's all sorted for you. For us, I should say. Before I move on to the next group, I want to point something out. Notice the oil and gas services. This stock here crossed over 8 days ago. That would be one of the leading stocks in this group. You can tell by the crossover dates or the lack of crossover dates how long these trades have been there. Now this one hasn't crossed over yet, but it's in the group and it's up for the day, but it hasn't crossed over yet. You can see, and this is not a good looking chart compared to the other charts. If I zoom out, it's just really choppy. But it's in the group, and it moved up, so it's included here. Now let's go down to the marine shipping and see the difference. Look at these crossover dates on most of these. These are old signals. Ardmore happened. If you lower right hand corner, if you look over here, you can see that's when the crossover occurred. Look at this strong weekly chart. Okay, here's one that's 25 days since the crossover. That was a gap up. Must have been, look at this is new information coming into the market with that volume spike. Probably earnings. So the crossover was actually clear back here before the gap up. If you look right here, there it was. I'm going to do a secondary sort on here. I'm going to back this up. Just click on 3 days since the 3 crossed the 6. I just put the number 3 up there on the sort, and then it'll sort automatically. You can see how old some of these signals are. Let's look at Frontline. When that happened 20 days ago on the crossover, and that would be this crossover here. And you can see that it's moved up nicely. Anyway, it's just a little trick to see how old these signals are. I'm going to sort on this. And here is a signal on Orion Engineering. This is a group that was actually up yesterday. It's materials. This signal is 36 days old. But the VPOC is 9. What does that mean? It means that it stayed above the moving averages, but there was probably a pullback on the volume point of control. Right here, you can see that. And the 3 went below the 6, and then it must not have gone below the 6, or it wouldn't be giving me that number of days. So it was very close, but it was right at it. You can see right at it. It didn't quite cross. But this This is the original signal right here on this, on the effort to rise, and you can see how these VPA flags come into play on these. You just have to pay attention to all this. Now let me quickly, I'm not going to go into depth on these others. I don't want this video to get too long, but these stocks and groups, user smart groups, this goes to the user smart groups that I created in here. Up and down, end of day. Now the criteria, I'm going to show you this quickly. And need to open up this add-on. This is what's installed with HGSI. Price up, fan up, and then right down here, one more. These right here. These says end of day, $15 and up. If I edit that, this is really driven by the combo, and what it does, it's the percentage price change one day weighted at 36.4% apiece, and then the volume based upon the 90-day moving average. So this gives us a different group, and these are derived from the stocks and groups moving up intraday. And that's this folder right here. So during the day, you can update the user smart groups and get a feel for what's happening intraday, and then it captures this group at the end of the day. And it's the reason I did this, it gives us a different look. So let's see what happens. Those groups that I was just accessing, showing you that if I go to 11A, remember this is the Woodward and Brown stocks and groups moving up. Now I'm in 11A, and I'm going to click on number 1. Now these groups of 100 were created as user smart groups, and I'm accessing them directly, and I'm going to sort on the raw combo and go to the top, and you can see that during the day, or at the end of the day yesterday, based upon that different criteria, we're still getting several of the same stocks. So if I bring this up, you can see exploration and productions on top. Banks are there, oil and gas services. But there's only 2 marine shipping stocks at the end of the day. So the shipping stocks have started to thin out a little bit, but other groups are becoming more dominant based upon this. This is, and you can look at these intraday, get the intraday prices, and the next one is 1 to 15, and then I have, if I move down to the stocks and groups moving down, user smart groups, just click on that and you can see where the weakness was on Friday based upon this user smart group, and these are sorted by industry percentage price change down. The air freight was down 10.65, internet-based services down 2.8, e-commerce discretionary down 2.6, and so on. And you can see when these fired. Now here is a stock that is still positive. Let's just bring the chart up. Get rid of this for now. You can see that it hasn't crossed down yet. It was moving up, but the group's going down, and it had a down day on Friday after 3 nice days up with pocket pivots. But the weekly chart is not moving up. So, not a good long candidate at this point. Okay, getting back to this, you can just try to differentiate these. These are the 11 is Woodward and Brown groups. These are the intraday groups which have settled as the end of day, And then I've got one more in here, which is to be used during the intraday hours anytime, which these will end up in 11B at the end of the day. It's a little bit confusing, but if you see it in action, it works really well. So we have stocks and groups moving up smart groups, and see there's nothing in here. I'm going to do this quickly, and I'll have to do a follow-up video on this next week to show it in action. But if I go into the designer, just assume that the market's open right now and it's 9 o'clock in the morning and you want to see which groups are moving. That's when you would use this. You just go into, first of all, you would rebuild the industries. Why would I want to do that? Because I want to see what the industries are doing intraday. And like I said, I'm going to have to come back to this and make a video of this next week. But first of all, you rebuild the indexes in the group. Doesn't take much time at all. So I'm rebuilding the industries so I know where they stand during that part of the day. And then I rebuild the user smart groups. Okay, I paused that while I updated them. I have a lot more user smart groups than most people do, so it takes me a little bit longer. Anyway, these groups are now, the intraday groups should be updated too, and you can see that they are 100 stocks and stocks and groups moving up intraday. These are the groups that are going to be updated during the day whenever you run this. So going back, getting away from the designer. Let's see if they come up here like they should. I probably have the wrong filter, have a filter on. So in 11B, there are instructions right here. It says rebuild user smart groups. So you can run these anytime during the day just to see where the strength is in the market. And it accesses the user smart groups that you've rebuilt. Here's $15 and up intraday. These are pretty much going to match what the end of day is. Well, they should. But if you do it during the day, it's going to give you a different look at where the strength is. And you can see these groups building strength during the day. These are up and these are down. So what was on the downside? Biotech, application software, and 1 to 15 group, biotech, of course. So just experiment with these. I'm going to do another video next week showing you how they work during market hours, because it's a very powerful technique to stay on top of what's moving. These groups, or some groups, if there's a change in group, you will see the momentum building as the results of these smart groups come up. Now I'm going to end this right now. Thanks for listening. I'm considering doing a webinar series pretty soon. I put it off for several months, but I have lots of new stuff and new techniques to show you to help you make money in HGSI. Thank you for listening. Have a good rest of the weekend.